Hello again, beer fans. We're back with Sapporo, a Japanese rice lager. Now, I haven't had Sapporo in a while because, as you guys know, I don't like paying imported price for stuff that tastes like Bud. I can just drink Bud, but we'll see if that feeling is fair. Now, the reason I say I suspect that is this is again a beer made heavily with rice, and that's what gives Bud and some beers like Coors their airy, light flavor. Um, Rice doesn't carry a lot of flavor as a grain for beer. Now, you will note that's carrying its head pretty well. It's not evaporating at kind of the warp speeds we sometimes associate with the adjuncts, but, and again, this is an adjunct. So let's put it there and let's have a sip. All foam. And I got nothing but foam that time. The foam was a little bitter and but not all around unpleasant. But had a little bitter mouthfeel. So we'll give it a second for this thing to get calmed down here. And Japan, you're going to expect from the main ones that are exported. Now, again, my understanding is you're starting to get some craft beer in Japan. Japan had one of those wonderful regulations that helped big business. 2 million, you could only make it if you could sell, this is something I read, if you could sell 2 million more or more liters, which meant only the big guys can enter. And there are several businesses throughout the world that have that kind of, where there's this logical ban on being little. Now, in something like, say, drugs, drug companies have a functional ban on little guys because the FDA approval process is so expensive, at times ranging into the hundreds of millions of dollars fairly frequently to get a drug approved, that there's no way you can make a drug unless you're a big guy. So the drug process is you're either big or you're not going to get into it. I mean, this would go well on your shelf with Bud Light. Or Bud, more like it. Very light. There's a non-hoppy bitterness to it. Possibly it's using more of the rice than even Bud Light does. Or Budweiser, I should say. Very faint hops. The yeast is carrying. You've almost got a little bit of that European kind of Pilsner, it's hard to describe that face, but in kind of a German Pilsner, you have this kind of icky flavor in there sometimes. That's kind of a bitter, but not hoppy bitter. And this kind of carries that. And kind of has a stale aftertaste. So my gut is this, that there may be something in here it's carrying a little bit more flavor with it than I was expecting. But the flavor, not a lot. Not a lot. Um, Still all the signs of beer drink. Um, but it's carrying a little bit more than I was expecting. Let's look at the other side. Um, but what flavors are there are a very mixed bag. So this is very much a question mark review to me. Um, and that's again because I simply don't understand why you would choose to pay more for this substantially. They basically Sam Adams price for a beer that's not noticeably better than Bud or MGD or Coors. And it's probably say inferior to say Yinling. Possibly Genesee as well. I am. That doesn't make sense to me. So my recommendation here is to avoid. Not that it's bad, and if you want to try something in Japan or you're in Japan, I'm not saying and it's cheaper. I'm not saying avoid it, but I'm just saying I question whether this is worth import prices. And I mean, you're paying $8 for a rice beer for a very beer that very much is not very flavorful, and what flavors there are not necessarily all satisfying. And to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That seems illogical. Now, if you develop a taste for it, that's different. Obviously, have a right to drink what you like, and if this is the beer that satisfies you the best, go for it. I'm not no problem with that, but I'm iffy on whether or not this is worth really trying or buying if you haven't gotten it, and so that's where I'm standing on it. Anyway, that's all I got. See ya.